Sidereal and tropical are astrological terms used to describe two different definitions of a year. They are also used as terms for two systems of ecliptic coordinates used in astrology. Both divide the ecliptic into a number of signs named after constellations. But while the sidereal system defines the signs based on the fixed stars, the tropical system defines it based on the position of vernal equinox in the northern hemisphere. Because of the precession of the equinoxes, the two systems do not remain fixed relative to each other but drift apart by about 1.4 arc degrees per century. The tropical system was adopted during the Hellenistic period and remains prevalent in Western astrology. A sidereal system is used in Hindu astrology, and in some 20th century systems of Western astrology, while classical tropical astrology is based on the orientation of the Earth relative to the Sun and planets of the solar system. Sidereal astrology deals with the position of the Earth relative to both of these as well as the stars of the celestial sphere. The actual positions of certain fixed stars as well as the constellations is an additional consideration in the horoscope. History. The classical zodiac was introduced in the Neo-Babylonian period. At the time, the precession of the equinoxes had not been discovered. Classical Hellenistic astrology consequently developed without consideration of the effects of precession. The discovery of the precession of the equinoxes is attributed to Hipparchus, a Greek astronomer active in the later Hellenistic period. Ptolemy, writing some 250 years after Hipparchus, was thus aware of the effects of precession. He opted for a definition of the zodiac based on the point of the vernal equinox, i.e., the tropical system. While Ptolemy noted that Ophiuchus is in contact with the ecliptic, he was aware that the 12 signs were just conventional names for 30-degree segments. The Hindu Jyotisha system opted for defining the zodiac based on the fixed stars, i.e., directly tied to the eponymous zodiacal constellations, unlike Western astrological systems. Sidereal traditions. Hindu astrology. Traditional Hindu astrology is based on the sidereal or visible zodiac, accounting for the shift of the equinoxes by correction, called dhyānamsa. The difference between the Vedic and the Western zodiacs is currently around 24 degrees. This corresponds to a separation of about 1,700 years, when the vernal equinox was approximately at the center of the constellation Aries, and the tropical and sidereal zodiacs coincided. The separation is believed to have taken place in the centuries following Ptolemy, apparently going back to Indo-Greek transmission of the system. But earlier Greek astronomers like Eudoxus spoke of a vernal equinox at 15 degrees in Aries, while later Greeks spoke of a vernal equinox at 8 degrees and then 0 degrees in Aries, which suggests the use of a sidereal zodiac in Greece before Ptolemy and Hipparchus. Sidereal Western astrology. Some Western astrologists have shown interest in the sidereal system during the 20th century. Shifted zodiac. Cyril Fagan assumed the origin of the zodiac in 786 BC, when the vernal equinox lay somewhere in mid-Aries, based on a major conjunction that occurred that year, corresponding to a difference of some 39 degrees a days. Most sidereal astrologers simply divide the ecliptic into 12 equal signs of 30 degrees but approximately aligned to the 12 zodiac constellations, assuming an origin of the system in 786 BC. This results in a system identical to that of the classical tropical zodiac, shifted by 25.5 days, i.e., if in tropical astrology Aries is taken to begin at March 21st, sidereal Aries will begin on April 15th. Astronomic Zodiac. A small number of sidereal astrologers do not take the astrological signs as an equal division of the ecliptic, but define the signs based on the actual width of the individual constellations. They also include constellations that are disregarded by the traditional zodiac, but are still in contact with the ecliptic. Stephen Schmidt in 1970 introduced Astrology 14, a system with additional signs based on the constellations of Ophiuchus and Cetus. In 1995, Walter Berg introduced his 13-sign zodiac, which has the additional sign of Ophiuchus. Berg's system was well received in Japan after having his book translated by radio host Mizui Kumi in 1996. For the purpose of determining the constellations in contact with the ecliptic, the constellation boundaries as defined by the International Astronomical Union in 1930 are used. For example, the Sun enters the IU boundary of Aries on April 19 at the lower right corner, a position that is still rather closer to the body of Pisces than of Aries. The IAU defined the constellation boundaries without consideration of astrological purposes. The dates the Sun passes through the 13 astronomical constellations of the ecliptic are listed below. Accurate to the year 2011. The dates will progress by an increment of 1 day every 70.5 years. The corresponding tropical and sidereal dates are given as well.